Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live webinar discussing the application of Division II Spring 2020 and 2021 academic year, seasons of competition, and extension of eligibility COVID-19 self-applied waivers. My name is Danielle Tietzel, and I'm an Associate Director of Academic and Membership Affairs. The individuals joining me today during this webinar are Julie Zeich and Jess Rigler, both Assistant Directors in Academic and Membership Affairs. Before we begin, our staff would like to thank you for participating in today's session. Our staff has designed this webinar following the receipt of several questions specific to this COVID-19 waiver relief. As we near the conclusion of our presentation, we will shift to a question and answer forum. Any student athlete specific or more detailed questions can always be submitted through RSRO, or you can call the national office and speak with someone from the student athlete reinstatement staff. Finally, we know the past year, at this point a little bit over a year, has been extremely challenging. And we, as well as the Committee on Student Athlete Reinstatement, have truly appreciated your patience and your support as we have all been navigating uncharted waters. I am now going to turn the call over to Julie Zeich for a review of the Administrative Committee and Committee on Student Athlete Reinstatement's relief specific to Spring 2020 sports student athletes. Julie?
Thank you, Danielle. In case you're unaware, the Division II Academic and Membership Affairs staff created this one-page document to assist you in understanding waiver relief. For your reference, this document is posted on the NCAA.org Division II Compliance website. This is the document that Jess, Danielle, and I will walk you through during this webinar. In addition, you will also see in this presentation the Division II Student Athlete Reinstatement Previously Approved Request List. This document is posted on the NCAA.org Student Athlete Reinstatement website. So almost a year ago, when COVID-19 initially hit, both the Division II Administrative Committee and the NCAA Committee for Student Athlete Reinstatement took steps to provide relief for spring sports student athletes whose experience was impacted. Specifically, D2 AdCom permitted institutions to self-apply a season of competition to any spring sports student athlete as long as they were otherwise eligible for the 2020 spring semester, regardless of their year of enrollment. In addition, D2 AdCom permitted institutions to self-apply a 2-semester or 3-quarter extension of eligibility for those spring sports student athletes who were in their final term of enrollment during the 2020 spring semester. Division II Student Athlete Reinstatement Committee extended this relief via the previously approved request list and stated that institutions could self-apply a 2-semester or 3-quarter extension of eligibility for any spring sports student athlete who qualified for the season of competition waiver, regardless of their year of enrollment. So to summarize, any spring sports student athlete who competed during the 2020 spring semester and was otherwise eligible is eligible for self-application of a season of competition and an extension of eligibility. I will now turn it over to Jess Rigler to review actions taken specific to the 2020-2021 academic year.
Thanks, Julie. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. My name is Jess Rigler, and as mentioned, I'm an Assistant Director in Student Athlete Reinstatement. I'll be taking you through the rest of the document and highlight the season of competition and extension relief that can be self-applied by institutions for fall, winter, and spring student athletes enrolled during the 2020-2021 academic year. Let's first look at those student athletes who would qualify for season of competition relief. In order to qualify for a self-applied season of competition waiver for the 2020-21 academic year, fall and winter student athletes who used a season and were otherwise eligible for competition would receive a season back regardless of how much of the season was completed by their team or in individual sports by the individual student athlete. For spring sports student athletes, it's slightly different. Those student athletes not only need to have used a season and been otherwise eligible for competition, there is the additional requirement that the student athlete's team could only have participated in 50% or less of that sport's bylaw 17 maximum contest limits. That limit is especially important to note in individual sports. Not only must the student athlete themselves not have competed in more than 50% of the bylaw 17 maximum limits in their sport, the student athlete's team also cannot have participated in more than 50% of their bylaw 17 maximum limits. If those requirements are met, spring sports student athletes will get their season back and it can be self-applied by the institution. If you need help determining the 50% limit for a particular sport, you can refer to the chart within the Division II Q&A document. You can find the Q&A document by going to ncaa.org, clicking on the Division II Compliance website. You will then see the Q&A document listed under COVID-19 Impact on Division II. Moving to extensions of eligibility. For fall, winter, and spring student athletes, it's all the same requirements. First, the student athlete must have been otherwise eligible for competition at any point during the academic year. Once that has been established, one of the following must also be met. Remember, these are or options. First, either the student athlete qualifies for a season of competition waiver, as we just previously discussed, or the student athlete's sports season was canceled due to COVID-19, or the student athlete opts out of participating in countable athletically related activities at any time prior to the institution's final contest or date of competition, or the student athlete does not compete. If a student athlete meets those requirements, that individual may receive a self-applied 2-semester or 3-quarter extension. It is important to remember that a student athlete who does not qualify for a self-applied season of competition waiver could still qualify for a self-applied extension. If you have specific questions related to the self-applied season of competition and self-applied extension request, please submit those interpretive requests through the RSRO system. It is also important to note that the extension of eligibility relief must be used at the student athlete's next available opportunity and consecutively. Please remember, all enrollment and progress toward degree requirements remain the same for student athletes who are continuing their eligibility due to receiving a self-applied COVID-19 extension and season of competition relief. Here are a couple of additional reminders. As mentioned earlier, the Committee on Student Athlete Reinstatement's previously approved request list, or PAL, is available as an additional resource to the document we just reviewed and can be found at ncaa.org by clicking Division II and then going to the compliance page. You will find the PAL near the top of the page with other COVID-19 related documents. Finally, the Division II season of competition and extension COVID-19 waivers are only available to student athletes who are enrolled at a Division II institution in spring 2020 and the 2020-21 academic year. However, any rules and decisions made by other divisions and organizations regarding a student athlete's use of a season or 10-semester, 15-quarter period of eligibility during the 2020-21 academic year would follow the student athlete upon transfer. If you have a student athlete that does not qualify for a self-applied season of competition waiver or self-applied extension request, you have the opportunity to file a traditional season of competition waiver or extension waiver request with student athlete reinstatement through the RSRO system. Thank you, and now I'll turn it back over to Danielle Tietzel.
Great. Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Julie. The Committee on Student Athlete Reinstatement engaged in a discussion in February specific to whether additional COVID-19 season of competition waiver flexibility should be provided to 2021 spring sports student athletes. The committee declined to support additional flexibility beyond what has already been approved by the Division II Administrative Committee. The Committee on Student Athlete Reinstatement simply noted spring competition has not been significantly impacted at this point. Further, the committee recognized that 2020 spring sports student athletes were not charged with using a season of competition, during the 2020 spring season, regardless of the amount of competition in which they competed, thus treating 2020 spring, 2020 fall, and 2020 winter sports student athletes similarly. While the committee believes some level of flexibility is warranted due to the continual impact of COVID-19 on 2021 spring sports seasons, the committee believes the current flexibility provided is appropriate. That concludes the review of the self-applied waivers, and we will move into the Q&A portion of the webinar.
Thank you, Danielle. We did have a few questions come in, the first of which is a spring sports student athletes team competed in 50% or more of the bylaw 17 maximum in that sport. However, the student athlete opts out prior to the institution's final contest or date of competition. What type of COVID-19 self-applied relief can this student receive?
Since the spring sports student athletes team competed in 50% or more of bylaw 17 maximums, and again, check the Q&A if you need help determining that, the student athlete wouldn't qualify for the self-applied COVID-19 season of competition waiver. However, given the student athlete opted out prior to the institution's final contest or date of competition, depending on the sport, the student athlete would qualify for the COVID-19 self-applied extension of eligibility waiver. But the tricky part here is you have to remember that for the student athlete to take advantage of the COVID-19 self-applied extension of eligibility, the student athlete must have a season of competition remaining. Remember, the season of competition waiver provides the student that season back, which is totally different than the use of 10 semesters. So you need to make sure that the student athlete still has a season in order to take advantage of that COVID flexibility that was provided.
Thanks, Danielle. A next question popped in that a few people asked. So, does a student athlete have to be academically eligible the entire 2020-21 academic year to receive the 2-semester, 3-quarter COVID-19 self-applied extension? For example, if the student athlete is eligible during fall 2020, but not spring 2021 or vice versa, is the student athlete eligible for the 2-semester, 3-quarter COVID-19 self-applied extension?
So thanks. I'll go ahead and take this one because I touched on it a little bit during my presentation. So you might have remembered me mentioning in order to qualify for the self-applied extension of eligibility waiver, the student athlete had to have been eligible during that 2021 academic year. The student athlete does not need to be eligible for the entire academic year in order to qualify for the waiver. If the student athlete was eligible at any point during the academic year, then they would still qualify for the waiver. So just something to track on.
Thank you, Jess. Another question that has come in: can we use compliance assistance to track season of competition? The D2 compliance resource page is a great place to start to see if the questions specific to compliance assistance are answered. I would say if you have additional compliance assistant questions to reach out to Susan Britch at sbritsch@nca.org. Okay, another question that came in: does unattached competition count against the 50% limit of bylaw 17 maximums when looking at the season of competition self-applied waiver? The answer to that is no. Unattached competition does not count against the 50% limit of bylaw 17 maximums.
How do you find the NCAA Division I and Division III waivers? Really great question. I think it's a good best practice if you have student athletes coming to your institution from those divisions to be familiar with those divisions' flexibility. You can go to ncaa.org and go to, for example, if you want to check D3, you go to D3 and then you would click on compliance. And under compliance, there'll be a list of helpful documents similar to how we have it organized on Division II for you to be able to review that. You can also file that through RSRO if you need some additional assistance. We do answer those questions as well. They'll come in for transfers that come to D2. And then in addition, you're also welcome, and I'll share this at the end of the webinar, to reach out to Jess, Julie, and myself if you have any more specific questions about season of competition waiver relief and extensions of eligibility. A lot of the questions that we have been coming in are very nuanced and very detailed, and a lot of those need some more talking through. So we are certainly happy to chat with you about all of those and look forward to doing so. And we'll do that at that time. But great question on how do you find the D1 and D3 information. I'll turn it back to you, Julie.
Thanks, Danielle. Going through the remainder of the questions, it looks like we will need some more details or conversation. So as Danielle mentioned, we'll give you our contact information, and we're more than happy to talk you through those just on an individual basis, because they are fairly specific.
I think at this time, everyone, we're going to go ahead and probably adjourn the webinar for today. We, again, really appreciate your time. We really appreciate all the work that you guys have been doing since March of last year, and all the work that you've ever done. We know it's been really difficult. We're here for you. We hear you. We look forward to talking to you about your questions. If you have anything additional, don't hesitate at all to email Julie, Jess, or myself. Jess's contact is JRIGLER. Julie is JZIKE. And my contact is DTEETZEL, all of them at ncaa.org. Reach out to us, ask us some questions. We'll probably call you back because that's what we like to do. So we apologize if you'd rather chat via email, but we like to talk to you, especially since we're not seeing you this year and we didn't see you last year at Regional Rules. Please stay safe, everyone. Remain healthy and have a great day. Thank you.